So you might have heard the news. I'm pregnant. I'm 5 months in as of the recording of this episode. It was quite a surprise, but also the biggest blessing, of course. This is really my first pregnancy out of 3 where I have had to actively follow food restrictions, including still supporting my immune system and keeping my autoimmune symptoms at bay. Having gone through this firsthand, I wanted to share my strategies for sticking to my food restrictions while also dealing with food aversions and cravings and nausea, and how I've been supporting my and baby's health as well. Welcome to the Therapeutic Food Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Mary Mitchell. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach, therapeutic diet expert, and founder of The Road to Living Whole. There are many different diets out there. It's hard to know which one is right for you with your chronic illness and autoimmune disease. In this podcast, I'm going to share with you the foundational pieces every single therapeutic diet out there shares, and also how to use the best one for your particular diagnosis. If you've been looking for a meal planning partner, help navigating the complicated healthcare system, and want to feel better quickly, I'm your girl. Grab your kombucha and notebook. Let's dive in. You know, it's funny. I always wanted more kids, but by my age, I'm 38, I didn't think that it was on the table anymore. Not only with my age, but also having children that are almost grown. And also because of all of my health stuff, I wasn't sure that it would be an easy option. Well, the joke is on me. Thanks to taking such great care of myself, I'm as fertile as ever. So yeah, baby number 3 is on the way. What blows my mind is how different every pregnancy is. This one, while being fairly similar to my pregnancy with my son, which is relatively easy, I am also absolutely exhausted. The fatigue has been unreal up until recently. Like, I could barely function. It was all I could do to see clients and keep the podcast interviews that had already been scheduled. I didn't really have the energy to edit, upload, create social media content, keep up on the newsletter, post in the Facebook group, anything. If I wasn't doing what was absolutely necessary for work and keeping my children alive, I was sleeping. It's been just recently that it's become somewhat manageable, although it's still not great. People tell me they experience the same thing with one pregnancy and not another, so I guess this is fairly normal. Adding on top of the fatigue and the food cravings and aversions and all of that stuff, I also can't eat corn, dairy, gluten, and I very much limit soy. And that can make eating quite difficult. It makes eating easy quite difficult because most easy foods contain at least one of those. When morning sickness was hitting me, vegetables made it even worse, right? This is the time that many people might just say, F it, and eat whatever sounds good, screw the consequences. Screw eating for autoimmune disease, screw my food sensitivities, my food allergies are non-anaphylactic, F it. That wasn't an option for me. Having been helping people in the food realm for the past decade really came in handy. While it wasn't the healthiest due to being so limited, here's what sounded good / I was able to eat in the first trimester, okay? Cherries, beef, seafood that I did not have to cook, rice with lots of butter and salt, potatoes, sweet potatoes, gluten-free toast with lots and lots of butter, dill pickles, and that, my friends, was about it for a good 5 to 6 weeks. Not the best, not the worst. I ate way more carbs than I'm used to eating, but I could keep them down and it helped settle my stomach just a little. It took the edge off, right? And I think this is where those of us in the health world, especially those who might be in the middle of dealing with our chronic disease symptoms, or maybe we're in the management phase, struggle. We know to stay symptom-free, we need to eat a nutrient-dense diet, avoid foods that trigger inflammation, and trigger symptoms, move our bodies, manage stress, and sleep well. Pregnancy can throw pretty much all of this through a loop. It's frustrating, overwhelming, and honestly, kind of scary. If you're going through pregnancy with chronic disease, especially autoimmune disease, I want to help you navigate this season well. So I have a few tips for you. Pregnancy can actually be healing to the body. While many people joke, and sometimes not joke, and say that the baby is a parasite, it is actually a reciprocal relationship. We give the baby nutrients and a place to grow. The baby gives us stem cells and supports our immune system. Stem cells help the body heal where it's injured. There have actually been many cases where pregnancy has healed the mother's body. The one you read most often about, like if you were to Google it, is Crohn's disease. I guarantee it's not the only one. It's just the one that's been the most researched and has the most documentation, right? So you don't have to be scared that pregnancy will make things worse for you. It can actually be a beautiful season that leaves you feeling better on the other side instead of worse. We do still need to nourish ourselves to the best of our ability. The one thing that I can stress here is to avoid the foods that you know trigger your symptoms. Mine are corn, dairy, and gluten. Plus, I don't feel great eating highly processed foods. So outside of that, I just listened to my body and ate foods that made me feel okay. I did notice that the higher amounts of protein that I ate, the better I felt overall. And if you can tolerate your prenatal, definitely take it. I couldn't, but I could tolerate desiccated liver capsules and my collagen powder. I couldn't tolerate straight water, so I drank carbonated water with lemon slices. You just do the best that you can. It will probably take some trial and error and more than a few things given away for others to eat, and that is okay. Speaking of doing the best that you can, let's talk about exercise and daily movement. During the first trimester, it can be extremely difficult to be able to push through any kind of exercise. If you struggle with morning sickness and maybe like me, extreme fatigue, it can be almost impossible for a few weeks. As much as I wanted to, and I did try on the days that I felt okay, I would work out and then I would need a 2-hour nap afterwards and be exhausted the rest of the day. I couldn't even take my dog on a 15-minute walk. It's beyond frustrating. I know that I was like, oh my gosh, I am going to balloon if I don't exercise. I'm going to lose all the muscle that I've worked hard to gain over all of these years. It's hard. But what do you do when this happens? You listen to your body. You test it out on a short workout or maybe do some breath work. Or maybe you just give your body the rest that it needs. Making another human is hard work. It takes a lot, and it's okay if we need to take some time off and let our body focus on growing this beautiful human inside of us, okay? It's never too late to start working out. So if you have to take off and maybe take off longer than you expect with life and symptoms and all of that, just do the best that you can. I definitely am doing a lot of breath work, a lot of pelvic floor support, a lot of stretching, and I am finally able to start walking my dog most days, and I'm starting to be able to work out at a lower intensity with lower weights and things like that. And I'm 5 months in. It's okay to listen to your body and give it what it needs and only push yourself as far as you can, not as far as you think that you should. Next up, let's talk about sleep. While I slept a ton, I didn't sleep throughout the night very often. I struggle with pregnancy-induced insomnia. It's definitely one way I know I'm pregnant before a pregnancy test shows positive. It's really annoying. Obviously, we need sleep. Sleep helps us manage the nausea and other symptoms. We're making another human, and that's a ton of work. So I did make sure to use magnesium to help me sleep. And if you listen to the last episode, I also use something called the Restore Patch. They have a sleep one, and it did help significantly. So when it comes to sleep, you do the best that you can. If you can't, it's okay. Like, you just rest when you can, and hopefully you're able to tough it out. I feel very blessed this pregnancy that my kids are older, because I remember when I was pregnant with my daughter, my son was 3, and naps, if the naps happened, the house would be destroyed and, all of that stuff. I didn't really have a choice because I would fall asleep sitting on the couch or whatever, but you do the best that you can, and you can use magnesium. You can find, there are certain things that you can take and do to help induce sleep and help, hopefully, if you're dealing with pregnancy-induced insomnia, help you work through that. And then, of course, just give yourself some grace. It's a season. It's not going to last forever. And the last thing I want to share with you is to love your body through this process. There is no right or wrong way to feel while pregnant. The body is changing shape, which is really difficult to deal with mentally. I start showing super early, like I couldn't button my pants by week 7. I was on vacation and I brought my shorts, which were normally loose because that's the style right now, right? And I wasn't able to button them on vacation. And then of course I start gaining weight really early, and it is a huge mental struggle. Things are going to be changing a lot, and your body needs your love throughout this process. The biggest struggle is our mindset. So if we decide to honor and love our body and ourselves through this process, it's going to be a much happier pregnancy. And these are my tips for supporting your body through the first trimester while also struggling with autoimmune disease, whether you're in the symptomatic or the management phase. But I know that it can be super exciting and really scary. But if you love yourself and take care of yourself to the best of your ability, it really can be a beautiful experience. And be sure to join the Facebook group if you are dealing with symptoms, because I'm going to be going live talking about how to maintain a healthy motility. Motility means bowel movements when things are off. Like, how do you handle that, and how do you continue to have healthy motility throughout a process, something like hormones and things like that, where your gut is really off. And there will be other topics coming in related to symptoms and stuff that not only happen in pregnancy, but happen in a variety of reasons. And since I'm going through it, I'm able to give you firsthand trial and error, what has worked and what I know throughout this process. The link for joining the Facebook group is in the show notes. So you can click and join there, and then you can join my newsletter. Like I said, I haven't been super consistent with it, but that won't be forever. So, stay tuned. You'll get recipes and notes and, things like that throughout the process, and updates on the pregnancy and all kinds of fun stuff. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to you joining me the next episode.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you found this episode helpful, would you do me a favor and help others find it by leaving a review, sharing a screenshot on social media, or sharing the link with a friend? By you sharing what you've learned, others are able to find this podcast and join our community. Be sure to check out my website, www.roadtolivingwhole.com, for over 160 delicious recipes, a variety of meal plans, and a blog packed full of even more healthy living tips. If you'd like to learn more about how to work with me as your coach, you can schedule a free consult through www.roadtolivingwhole.com/health-coaching/. Until next time, friend. Bye.